Well, hello and welcome to a new video where we are going to compare the current version of the DELL XPS. So obviously this one here with the 2023 model up against the 2019 model, which is the last one with the OG DELL XPS design, which had the first thin bezel design. So right off the start, we can see that the major difference between those two is actually the display. I mean, you can't really see that right now because I'm in a video, but if we tap out real quick, you will see that on this one, you actually have a screen which goes all the way to the bottom. So if you open this laptop, all you see is screen. On the other hand, this one, the old one, does have this very thin, these thin infinity edge bezels, which are a little bit thicker than on the new one, but definitely around the same size and still have a very stylish look to them. But yeah, you can see that you have a huge chin on the bottom, so you're wasting a lot of space which could be used for the display. And Dell makes a very good use of that because you can see both of these devices do have 15.6-inch displays, but the Dell, the new one, actually is a lot smaller than the old one. And that's due to the fact that obviously the screen starts a lot lower and it still has more screen real estate because it's a 16:10 aspect ratio compared to the 16:9, which you have in the old one. So yeah, it's a more compact design due to that, and you still get more space to work with on your laptop. So both of these things are very nice to me. On the other hand, you can only get a Full HD matte or Full HD Plus matte screen on this one, or the 3.5K OLED if you want to go with a high resolution screen. And this is the one which I have here as well. While on the other hand, with the 2019 model, you could actually go and get not only a 4K IPS screen with touchscreen, you could also get the 4K OLED screen, which does not have touch admittedly, and you could also get the Full HD matte screen there. So you have a higher variety of screens here, and if you are sensitive to PWM flickering, which obviously all OLED screens have in order to dim the light, then you will only your only option to get if for the new one is to get the Full HD Plus screen, while on the old one you can actually get the 4K IPS screen instead. And this is the one I have here as well. And I can tell you the colors of them are amazing, like they're really gorgeous. And obviously the brightness is actually higher on this one. I think it's like 500 nits here, while you only have 400 nits here on the OLED screen. So visibility wise, this actually could be the better screen. And color wise, I think both of them are basically, I mean, the OLED screen is definitely 100% sRGB, basically 100% Adobe RGB as well as DCI-P free. While this one does have 100% Adobe RGB, but I don't think it actually fills the DCI-P color space completely. So if you want to work with a more color accurate display, this one is probably the one to go for. So yeah, what else is new? Obviously the keyboard as well as the touchpad. If you compare that to the old one, the touchpad is like half of the size. And if you look at these keys, those are very small keys, and I think a lot of people are not going to like that, especially if you have the choice for the new one. Like, look at the size of my finger compared to the key. Like the new ones are so much bigger and so much more comfortable to type on. For me, it's not really a big problem. I have used the XPS models, the old ones, for a long time, so I'm really used to these small keys. But I think a lot of people are definitely going to prefer the new one. I do as well, and if I have the choice, then I will go for the new one as well. The touchpad on the other hand, is also way better on the new one. It's not just bigger, but it glides better. The click is more satisfying, and it's definitely more premium feeling. While the one on the old one, obviously it's not only a smaller touchscreen, and I just can't get my camera to focus here. Yeah, it's a smaller, not only a smaller touchscreen, but it's also the click doesn't feel as satisfying as with the new one, which feels a lot nicer. On the other hand, the new one had a lot of loose touchpads. This one doesn't, and I highly recommend you to check that out before before your return period ends, because you definitely do not want to have a loose touchpad on this kind of machine. Yeah, what is the second point? I think the display, we talked about that. The speakers, you have dual front firing as well as speakers that fire downwards on the new XPS, while you do not have any speakers here on the old XPS and only have two speakers here in the front down firing, and they're not all that great. But I'm gonna give you a chance to listen to that for yourself. So here there's like the max volume. So yeah, no distortion at all. You have a lot of bass with these new speakers, and they get really loud. Compare that to the old one, which is also at max volume. Yeah, it's just not a fair competition, to be honest. Like the old one, the volume is like half of the volume of the new one, and you lack completely all the bass that you get on the new one. So definitely a win for the new one here. All right, next, the chords, because those definitely can be an important factor for you if you carry this around all day, and if you're going to hold presentations on your device. You only get USB-C ports on a new one. Like I think it's Thunderbolt 4 on both of these on the left side, as well as one SD card reader, one 3.5mm headphone jack, as well as another USB-C port here. On the old one, you get all the ports that you need. You get your headphone jack, you get USB-C, you get a HDMI, and USB-A. On the other hand, on the other side, you get the, I think I need the light. You get an SD card reader, as well as another USB-A port, and this really nice thing here, which is a battery indicator, and a Kensington lock. So ports-wise, the old one absolutely dominates the new one, and you will never, especially except for the fact maybe if you want to get some Ethernet, you will never have to go and grab a dongle for the old one. So that's really great. The battery, on the old one you get 97 watt hours of battery. On the new one you only get 86 watt hours, and I don't know if it's the IPS screen, the fact that I can actually undervolt this i9 here, and what else there is to it, but this new one only lasts me around 5 to 6 hours in office usage with the 3.5K OLED, while the old one here with the 4K IPS screen lasts me at least 8 to 9 hours in office. So it's a lot better in battery terms than the new one. So yeah, that's really disappointing. I mean, obviously this is still a lot thinner and a sleeker device than the old one, but it would have been really nice to get these long battery run times. Upgradability, on the other hand, the new one wins, hands down, because you can upgrade the RAM on both of them. Both of them have two SODIMM slots, so you can upgrade the RAM afterwards, after you bought it, and also can upgrade the SSD, which is in there. And the new one here actually has two SSD slots, one here, so you can upgrade two SSDs, while the old one you can only upgrade one SSD. You only have one SSD slot, so you can only upgrade one, obviously. I do believe, though, that this one here actually has an upgradable Wi-Fi card, which the new one doesn't have, because this one is soldered on, and it's not like the best Wi-Fi I've had so far, because it's the killer Wi-Fi, not the Intel Wi-Fi. And yeah, it has been okay, but sometimes it's actually losing the connection for me here, so I'm not 100% convinced here. On the other hand, obviously performance-wise, this one here with the 8-core i9 in Cinebench R23, in a single run you will get around 9,300 points. In 10 minutes front throttle benchmark in Cinebench R23 you will get around 7,600 points. While on this one, obviously with the 13th gen i7, you will get around 15,000 points. In Cinebench R23, 14 to 14 to 15,000 points. And in the throttle run, you will get around 11 to 12. So it is an upgrade, definitely, in the CPU department, but the old one simply is not a slow computer either. So both of them are very capable CPUs by nowadays standards. And obviously here with the i7 you only get 6 cores, so the i9 can definitely be worth it if you need those, if you need the extra performance. Here you only get the GTX 1650 with 50 watts, which is still a capable card by today, but only has 4 GB of VRAM. On the other hand, here you can go from the 4050, or actually you can go from the ARC 3070, 370M, which is a really shitty GPU. I would not recommend you going for that because it's around as fast as the 1615 here. So definitely do not go for this GPU, but instead go and choose one of the NVIDIA RTX cards. So the 4050 up until to the 4070. The problem with this one is you will get the same cooling system that you would get with the 2020, 21, and 22 model. So that means that you will only get 45 watts on your GPU. So your 4070 is not going to be nearly as fast as it would be in a gaming laptop, which would have 100 watts or even more for your GPU. So keep that in mind. Also keep in mind that this is going to throttle. So it all depends on the bias, to be honest. Like Dell is always changing the power that these machines are allowed to zip with every bias. So you can never tell for certain how much bias how much wattage your CPU and GPU are going to run on in the long term. But with the old one, like right now, the one here has 50 watts on your GPU and around 20 watts on your CPU if you stress both of them. Like in a gaming session, you will get around the 20 watts mark here and the 50 watts here, but it will throttle down to 30 watts once it reaches the 70 degrees threshold and exceeds that for a longer period of time. That's at least my testing. And then you will throttle down to 30 watts and it will keep those 30 watts and still go on 20 watts around that on your CPU. Even though you're already at 60 degrees Celsius on this machine. I don't know, it's really weird how Dell manages the throttling behavior. On this one, with an older BIOS, I actually had it a little bit weird because the i7 was not allowed to zip a constant amount of wattage, but rather would go to 30 watts, go all the way down to 10 watts, and then go back up to 30 watts again. So it's very inconsistent, this behavior. While the GPU, on the other hand, was allowed to draw 45 watts constantly, all the time. So that's perfect, but with the new BIOS that I have now here on this machine, I get 45 watts on the GPU and 20 watts on the CPU. And I haven't seen, at least in Apex Legends, I haven't tested out anything else yet, but at least in Apex Legends, the performance is absolutely stable. And I really like what they did in this BIOS update right now. So that is very good. Yeah, I think actually that is pretty much what I wanted to say about these machines. I mean, design-wise, I actually do believe that the old one still has a lot going for it. I mean, if you put them here, both of them still look very modern, very sleek. But I will say though, like this here is my trusty T470p ThinkPad, and if I go ahead and put the new one on top of that, you will see that it's basically fitting the 14-inch frame of this old machine. Like this new one is just so compact and tiny, the XPS, and I'm very happy with that because you get so much screen real estate, and on the other hand, they have such a little footprint that's very nice. So yeah, as long as you don't need all these ports on a daily, and maybe you even have a USB-C docking station, so it won't really matter to you. But if you want those ports, you can only get them with the old one. The battery life is better on the old one. If you want a 4K screen, which is not OLED, you have to get either one of the older newer versions or this one here, which has a very good 4K IPS screen, even with touchscreen as well. And yeah, of course, the CPU is still very very strong in the old one as well. Like, it's still an 8-core CPU in 2023. It's still a very capable performer. Yeah, apart from that, the fans is like one thing I would like to mention here in the last part, and that is because the fans on the old models, I had like 4 of these, and it's a mixed bag because they are usually pretty nice, not all too loud, but they do have the tendency to be a little bit higher pitched. While on this machine, if you have it on your desk, you can barely hear the fans, like, at all. And once they come up, it's like a very soothing, like a deep whoosh, if I can say so. So it's not annoying when they ramp up. So I'm very pleased how the emissions of this machine actually are. Emissions, yeah, it's another good point. Like, both of them, they do get a little bit warm on the keyboard once they ramp up the fans, and once you actually do something demanding on these machines. But obviously that A is to be expected on such a thin and light machine, and B, I never, like, just Josh, another reviewer here on YouTube, has a lot of problems with his DELL XPS machines, and he doesn't recommend it on the basis that they run too hot for him. But I don't really feel that. Like, for me, you feel that they're getting warm, but it's not unbearable, and for me, actually, it's not even uncomfortable as well. So yeah, both of them are very nice machines, and if you can pick one of these up for cheap, like, those go around for 500 to 600 euros here on eBay in Germany, where I live. So you can save quite a lot of money if you get one which actually still has a decent battery. Otherwise, you will obviously have to spend another $100 on a new battery. But yeah, apart from that, this is a very nice machine for the price, and a lot better than what you will get with new machines at that price point. On the other hand, this one and the older models, like the 2021, which is the first version I would start at. I wouldn't go for the 2020 model because that still has the old CPU architecture in it and only has 1650 Ti as GPU as well. So I would at least go for the Tiger Lake i7 as well as the RTX 3050 Ti model. And you can get those for under 1,000 euros here as well. So maybe this one, if you like the design, it's worth for you to go and upgrade to this one. But apart from that, both of these are very nice machines even today, and I have no problem recommending any of them. I myself think that this one is the better device after all today, because it simply has so much things that it has improved from the old one, like an additional SSD slot. You get better speakers, you get better keyboard, better touchpad, a way smaller footprint while still getting a bigger display. And obviously you get these newer components in here, which will run programs faster. And yeah, that for me alone makes this one here the winner, the clear winner in this comparison. On the other hand, both have things that are going for them, and this one, just because it's a few years old, it's not a bad machine. And I will still wholeheartedly recommend it to anyone who still prefers the pros that I've discussed earlier for this one. So yeah, I hope if you have any questions, just let me know. If not, then I hope you enjoyed the video and you know which one you are going to get next.